Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the Open Grand Finals of Ikhtilaf 2025. First off, congratulations to both teams for having made it this far. I'm Shishir, I'll be your chair, and now request other judges on the panel to introduce themselves.
Hi there, my name is Uma Sayed. I am on panel. All the best for this round. Congratulations on making it so far.
Hi guys, I'm Aditya Tej. I'll be on panel for this round. Best of luck.
Hi everyone, Harsh, him all the best.
Hi everyone, I'm Tarushi. I'll be on panel for today. All the best for the round.
Alright, perfect. Laying out some basic house rules. Be respectful, remember to tag the argument and not the speaker. POIs are highly encouraged. Anything you say beyond 7:15 for constructive speeches and beyond 4:15 for replies does not go down on our sheets. With that said, Prime Minister, the floor is yours. Here.
Just confirming that I'm clearly audible.
Loud and clear, yes.
Okay, awesome. I'll start my speech in three, two, one. Classical art is dying simply because the music they practice is no longer viable in the commercial space. They're not willing to adapt, neither are they willing to distribute their music via existing commercial entities in order to make money. I want to note a few things at the top of my speech which come under commercialization. First, note that singing more and more popular music genres. This does not mean that he has to stop singing classical songs completely, but classical songs has evolved in their commercial form where they use less difficult words, use recent instruments such as guitar for mixing rather than a sitar and other classical instruments. Such music is able to cater to conservative as well as new young audiences. This means that you're now able to explore a far larger market. Secondly, then, know that distributing your music via more popular mediums such as Spotify, YouTube, rather than only restricting yourself to a classical Sangeet space. And third and finally, then note that this means that you'll be performing such music in a large scale concerts and commercial gatherings. But then next we go on to like what are like some of the incentives of an artist? I think first we need to go into before looking into some of the general incentives of an artist. Let's just analyze Radhe. This is a person who has never really been given a choice in his life. He was born into a community of singers. It's likely that given his grandfather's fame and strictness, from the time he was a child, he was told that he has to sing classical music. He was told to withdraw from commercial and materialistic elements in the society. The problem is that he still wants to go to school and college where he saw how there's more to life than just classical music. He still sees how singers can have big cars, big homes, and all the luxuries, but he's been told forever that he has to go and let go of all of these things. While in his grandfather's eyes, he's always been a good person, he was a loser to everyone else out there. Children, when they're forced to go into a field simply because their parents or community did exactly that, have a huge internal dilemma in them. They always feel like that it's not really their own choice, and after their fundamental years, they do understand sometimes that their whole life was designed by someone else, and they start resenting their lives. Sure, this guy would always respect his father's legacy because he was scared of him. But what happens when when his grandfather passes away in a couple years? Make no mistake, he's probably in his 20s and his grandfather is in his 80s. Once the fear he had of his grandfather fades away and the indoctrination is removed as he enters the real world, he would realize his entire life has never been his own. On our side, for the first time in his life, he makes his own choices for once. Lastly, we don't even know if he loves his grandfather. Most parents and communities in India are extremely controlling, and children do grow up resenting their parents. There's no evidence in the info site to suggest that there is a good relationship between him and his community. However, you must trust out analysis. If he's always been controlled and he's steered in the direction of classical music without ever having explored other opportunities, and as the info site suggests, the classical musicians do withdraw from commercial elements. He must resent his community for not allowing him to display his talent to billions of people in the world. He would hate the fact that worse singers than him are winning Indian Idol and constantly getting fame while he has to sit at home getting recognition from 100 odd people. And the simple fact is, whenever he sees a commercial singer getting millions of dollars, women loving them, millions of fans, he realizes how unfair his community has been to him. Therefore, he must for once break free from his controlling community and make one choice of his own to do something that has always been forbidden, but what he actually wants to do, right? But on to some general
POI.
incentives of an artist. Quite simply, I think we can note that beyond allowing artists to express their emotions and perspectives, artists inherently want to generate money for their work. One of the primary things he would want is recognition. He would want, if he's such a good singer, he and others are worse than him or getting famous. I don't get to part like I don't get why he wouldn't want to show the world how good he is. If I'm a good debater and I don't get to participate in WUDC, where worse debaters than me win all the time, I would hate it. I would want an opportunity that allows me to show that I am the best in the world. We know this because any professional or any person that actually spends time in their field and spends a lot of energy, they want to actually be credited for the work and the amount of time that they've put. I think this is quite simply human nature and something that we can attribute to Radhe. But before I go on to my next post, yes, I'll take that POI.
Great, he can commercialize, but what's the likelihood of success after commercialization?
I think at the point at which he's dedicated a lot of his life to do so, and he's also found someone who has their like foot in the career. I think at that point you can tell that like he's going to achieve some level of fame. Right now, it's become increasingly easy to become more famous, especially in the music industry. When you have things like Spotify, when you have things like TikTok and Instagram Reels that allow you to be able to push your art more, it's far easier to be recognized as an extremely talented person, and for that reason, we can assure far better success than the counterfactual that exists on your side of the house. But note, right? Commercial music intrinsically makes more money, and we know this because commercial music is designed to cater to broad audience. In fact, in that it reflects a contemporary culture such that is more accessible to people from diverse backgrounds, featuring elements that make music catchy to the listener, make it such that people constantly want to consume it now. On the other hand, classical music is something that tends to attract an extremely niche community. On the basis of magnitude itself, consumption is going to be extremely high because and for that reason, commercial music it becomes extremely lucrative. Note also that like at the point at which commercial music maintains the exclusive advantage of being able to stream the songs on things like Spotify, YouTube, and then further gets promoted on social media like TikTok and Reels, you provide millions of listeners with access to your songs, which translates into far more money. What both of this proves then is that besides the money garnered from the amount of listens to your songs, by producing commercial music, you also essentially create a large fan base to which, as an artist, you can generate profit from merchandising, concerts, and endorsements that come from the agency that you're behind. But then thirdly, note that like commercial music essentially gives you far more recognition. As previously mentioned, unlike traditional or classical music, which requires a specialized knowledge to be able to like get into it and to be able to appreciate it, commercial music is made to be more accessible to people regardless of their musical background. They don't necessarily have to need to know the backings behind behind how the song was created in order to be able to like enjoy it. They also note that there's simply far more awards for commercial music. These awards are significantly influenced by viewership rather than only the legitimacy of the song. The commercial award shows are streamed extensively so that everyone knows that you're the best. Commercial singers are discussed very often in TV sets, interviews, and become a cultural phenomenon. For all these reasons, we know that they get much higher recognition. Besides the fact that I'm Tamanna and I know that we're already going to win this debate, I think all the points we've given to you show why we're clearly far stronger. Thank you.
I thank the PM for that fine speech. Hello, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, cool. There I'm going as leader of opposition. POI is just vocalize. Quick shout outs, NSUT DepSoc as well as my teammates. Really fun run. Cool. With that out of the way, starting speech in 3, 2, 1. Three pieces of frame that become increasingly important within this debate. One, why we think that in like classical music and is very important to this actor in and of itself. One, I think even if you don't love your father, I think you deeply respect your father. Why is this likely to happen? Because note that when you're born in this family and your grandfather is probably idealized as this hero within classical music, then there is an inherent narrative that is present within your family, which means that the conversations that you then go and have with your grandfather probably look like as to why probably classical music is probably getting destroyed due to commercial factors of it. You only internalize all of these concepts because they're coming from the most proximate actor to you. But secondly, note, motion slide clearly tells us that you probably, like, you have a deep love for classical music, which is why we don't really think that the likely comparative is that you go to school and things like that. We think you probably do pursue music, but it's like you probably pursue commercial music and things like that. But more on that later in my speech. Thirdly, note that understand that you probably knew about commercial music way before like Tamanna came in your life. The idea is very simple then. When you don't go ahead and probably then opt into this music, then go opt into this industry, it simply means that insofar like till this point, you are never incentivized to go into this industry, which means that things like fame and money are never really important to you in the first place. The only reason we posit to you probably go into this industry is probably because of your relationship with Tamanna. We'll later prove why this relationship is probably also highly unstable and something that can't be a winning point of this debate. But secondly, note, we prove to you why success is extremely hard in commercial industry. We have three reasons for this. Note, number one, probably to get famous within commercial industry, you need extreme amounts of like associations in terms of like you knowing label companies and things like that for you to go ahead and advertise your music in a very effective manner. Your father probably has constantly gone ahead and spoken against, your grandfather probably spoken against this music, which is why he's unlikely to have any sort of relationships and any sort of associates that are working within the commercial music sector, which is why you can't, this is something you can't go ahead and rely on. But secondly, note that you've trained with it with classical music all your life. Commercial music is something that you're highly inexperienced in. I don't think that you can at a point in time, you've trained all your life as a classical singer and now you decide to make this shift. I don't think that you can go ahead and like create this into any tangible success. But also note thirdly that music always changes because if something is popular today, it's not guaranteed that it's popular tomorrow. That is the same if commercial, if you're getting high amounts of success probably like doing traditional music, it's not likely that this will be the norm 4 years of now, which means that there's no sustainability of character, like sustainability of career within this industry. The problem is that when you opt into this industry in of itself and you have to opt into label companies because they are the people who go ahead and advertise your music and help you make you profit, they want to make profits by you constantly remaining relevant, which is why you probably then have to go ahead and make this change into then commercializing your music more, which is why government can't go ahead and run that. No, you can still sing like traditional music. We think this is likely to, we think this is extremely unlikely on this side of the house. You probably do have to change because of the way music works. But lastly, why is your relationship with Tamanna unlikely to succeed? Three things then. One, she probably only came to you when she heard about you having this legacy. Understand that at a point in time you're no longer successful, it's highly unlikely whether she stays with you or not. But secondly, note, if this relationship is built on like art and your love for music, whenever there is an artistic difference and you want to go one way and your partner wants to go the other way, it's highly unlikely that the relationship is compatible. But thirdly, but note, the relationship with your father is something that's with the grandfather and this community and your more proximate classical music community is probably the only thing that you can go ahead and have on our side. This is the most proximate thing to you, and you probably shouldn't lose this. Why is personal catharsis and success guaranteed on our side? And five things on this. One, note that at a point in time, you're considered a prodigy within the classical music industry, which is something that the motion slide tells us. You probably attach a large degree of your self-worth to this classical industry. This looks like whenever you go ahead and perform music and you're like, and the peers around you go ahead and tell you that how great you are and how probably you like how similar to your grandfather you are, this connection makes you highly value yourself because you like start visualizing yourself as being your grandfather, because this is the only sense of catharsis and positive fulfillment you've been getting like throughout your life, which means that your self-worth is continuously contingent on impressing these people. Note that at a point in time you commercialize your music, you probably face backlash from these people because they respect your grandfather and his views on the traditional music industry. This is why you even if you get some amount of fame for making commercial music, the most proximate actors to you and the people who you want to get this fame from probably then go ahead and hate you and probably then go ahead and say that you're a wasted talent. This is extremely bad for them. But secondly, note that even if you can go ahead and keep your music traditional, at a point in time this becomes the norm. Your music probably becomes an influence for other sorts of music fusions to happen, which is why the dilution of this classical music then goes ahead and happens, and then it goes on to such a large extent that you probably go ahead and feel that this music that you go ahead and deeply love, and this music that your grandfather has gone ahead and taught you his entire life is probably being diluted. But lastly, note that the impact of this probably is magnified died. Why is this likely to be true? Not at a point in time you're the grandfather of probably a grandson of a really famous person. And when you get some amount of fame, which is also unlikely, but let's just assume it's true. When you get this fame, they probably then go ahead and interview your grandfather. You probably have to listen to him talk about how he doesn't view you as a son and how he hates your music and think you as an actor are diluting the music at all points of time. These are harms that you have to deal with, and the magnitude of these harms is high. Before I go to positive comparative POI really quickly.
Don't you think you would be constantly compared with your grandfather's success and nothing you do would ever be enough to make people happy or make your grandfather happy?
Even if that is true, I think people are likely to make associations with you, which means that you are going to perform well insofar as you are a prodigy within this industry, which means that these comparisons are likely to be positive. But even if they're not, what's a positive comparative? One, you can probably avoid backlash and internal conflict on our side of the house. Secondly, note, I don't think side government can go ahead and run that classical music is dying, hence you should not die with it. The idea is very simple. If you love something dearly, you feel immense amount of pride in pursuing it, even if it later dies out. The idea is simple. If you are a deeply religious person and you're a minority within a community, you then don't go ahead and immediately opt out of that religion. You still choose to probably pursue that religion even if it's dying. This is the amount of pride you probably go ahead and have when probably the kind of effect that your grandfather has had on you and the kind of feelings that you don't go ahead and internalize on both sides of the house. This is why I think this is probably something that's extremely important to you. The 30 note on awards and monetary benefits. I think this is also something that you can sufficiently get on our side of the house. What does success looks like? I think the success first and foremost is guaranteed because of the associations your grandfather has. But secondly, note, because of all of this is true, you're likely to get awards and things like you being made make teacher in really good schools at all points of time. I think that's very proud to oppose.
I thank the speaker for that fine speech. I now invite the Deputy Prime Minister.
Hello people, I'm gonna trust the timer on the screen. I'm not keeping my own. Thank you everyone. POIs by raise of hands. I would ask for it if I have time. I'm starting in. Oh, I have water. Amazing. Shout out to Tamanna, who is in our team and also in the motion, which is amazing. If that counts. Okay. I'm starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Read the info slide again. The info slide says Radhe fell in love with Tamanna only during creating music, which means he was willing to give everything up. He was willing to give up everything that he has learned, all connections he has with the community, all his love for his grandfather, simply to perform commercial music only once in his life. Look at the info slide. It says that he started anonymously performing, and only after starting this process, he fell in love with Tamanna, which means he did not opt into commercial music because, well, he fell in love or he was very attracted. He opted into commercial music without that love, knowing that he might be restricted out of the community, knowing that his grandfather might hate him a lot. This incredibly suggests that our characterization is quite true. Probably he doesn't love his grandfather or his community at all. Probably he was forced into this for his entire life. And this happened to almost all Indian children. They never want to become an engineer, but just because their parents say so, they do. And at that point, they struggle a lot. Clearly, simply because he anonymously opted into it, knowing all the consequences, knowing that and at that point of time he was not in love, it clearly suggests he desperately wanted to make this choice. Why do I think so? I think at the point when a child is forced into a career that he doesn't necessarily love, but clearly has some talent because of the genes, after a point of time, after getting some recognition, he sees the emptiness in his life. He sees that his entire life is controlled by other people. But in this life also, nothing would ever be enough. Regardless of how well he does, he would never be a good singer in everyone's eyes because everyone expects him to be as good as his grandfather. Reaching your Ranji team, playing in the IPL is a really big achievement. But Arjun Tendulkar would never be respected as a cricketer simply because his father was way too big. Similarly, Abhishek Bachchan has done some amazing movies, has won really good awards, but everyone would constantly troll him because he can never be as good as Amitabh Bachchan. If his grandfather was a legend, he would never become better. Regardless of what he does, everyone would keep constantly telling him that, well, your grandfather was much better, you have a lot of place to go. Keep training. He would never get individual recognition in this field because he would constantly be compared to the legend. This is a field he did not choose. When he opted to do something anonymously, that is the first time he made an independent choice in his life. If he is not able to continue with this independent choice, it's likely that he would regret this forever. Chat, raise hands, please don't violate. What I want to note is that the possibility of success is something that is undebatable in this debate. He has done three songs with the pop stars. Pop stars in this current times have millions of followers, even with one song that goes viral. Remember, if this is a pop star with whom he has done his song anonymously, he probably has an anonymous Instagram account, an anonymous YouTube channel, which would have been tagged by the pop star multiple times. He already would have 500,000 followers, which would allow him to make lakhs in brand endorsement, something that he would not make in a year in classical music. It's very simple. In commercial music, you only need one song to go viral to have 5 million followers. Those followers aren't going anywhere, even if you make terrible music from there, which means that you get all the brand endorsement, you get everything else, even if you don't produce good music. Given he has done 2 songs with the rising pop stars already, he already has the following to make a lot of money. He already has the following to get recognition that he never had as a classical musician. Clearly, this is something that he always wanted to do. Don't you see influencers with 100k followers going into luxury vacations, getting everything for free, simply for brand endorsement? He can do all of this, something that he has strived for his entire life. I don't think possibility of success in question right now, because you don't have to be India's best singer, you simply have to be good. But look at the info slide again. He is a prodigy. He is collaborating with a big pop star. We are not arguing relationship at all. It's possible that he might just break up. It doesn't matter, because he opted into commercial music much before he went into a relationship. It's likely that this relationship is only a part of his life, not his entire life. We don't really care about that. What we actually care about is the fact that he's making a choice that he was never able to make. At a point when a person is not able to make a choice of their own, they suffer. They suffer internally because they are never satisfied. They are never appreciated. And even if they are, they think that appreciation is hollow because they were never able to exercise a single day of independence in their life. Think of this child who have been pushed into classical music forever, have been beaten up at the point when he did not perform well enough, because that is exactly what classical gurus do. Have you seen all of your old cricket teachers? If you don't play a good shot, they beat you up. That is how coaching works in this country. That is how parents and grandfathers work in this country. This is a child who has never been satisfied. He opted for it anonymously because this is something that he desperately wants to do. And therefore, this has to be for the first priority. Likelihood of success doesn't exist in any world. On our side, there is more analysis that you would get success. And I have argued to you that he's already successful to an extent where he can live happily. What you need to understand is that even if he gets very, very successful on site operation, at best you would have a few thousand followers. At best you would make 60,000 a month by being a classical teacher. He would never live the life that he has seen legends live, where people have big cars, big movies, things like that. That is something that you would only have on our side of the house. It's not only that. It's simply the fact that regardless of likelihood of success, he really wants to do this. He has already made his choice simply because he opted for it. He knew what the harms can be, and he still did it. Hidden, but he still did it, which means the only reason he kept himself anonymous is because he was fearful of his grandfather. He was very embarrassed to tell it to his grandfather. But when his grandfather is being so strict that he would not allow the one single independent choice he has made, probably his grandfather doesn't love him enough. Because if I was a father and my son wanted to do something for his entire life, and he's doing it and he's getting successful at it, and he has a partner and I loved him, I would allow him. It's quite clear that the grandfather doesn't love him. In a couple of years, he would die as well. I don't understand why we should care about him. If somebody doesn't love him, he shouldn't care about him. It's as simple as possible. In an actor debate, we are supposed to be in the minds of the actor, and we are supposed to look at the debate rationally, rather than thinking, oh, Radhe is quite attached to his grandfather now. It doesn't matter. The grandfather doesn't love him. We have no obligation to love him back, and I don't think we can. At the point when you go into a commercial world and see what your grandfather has deprived you from, your fans, a car, a good house, probably a lot of women to have relationships with, I think all of this shows you that your parents and your family never really loved you. They just wanted you to become as good as them so that they can strive on their reputation, so that they can chest thumb in front of all relatives that my grandson is better than all of you. I think to the extent he is making an independent choice only on our side of the house, we must win. To the extent we have proven that he is moderately successful already, and therefore he would make much more money than he would have ever made on op, we should win this debate. Very proud to propose.
I thank the DPM for that fine speech. I now invite the DLO.
Hello, am I audible? That's on the phone.
Loud and clear, yes.
Thanks a lot. My name is Basim. Will be the DLF for this round. Very happy to be in finals. A few shout outs. Shout out to KMC Depsok and its entirety, lovely people. Shout out to Sharik and Dharam for teaming up. Shout out to each and every of Sharik's flatmates who allowed me to come here on all 3 days. Let's go. And I know them. Madhav, Obvious, and Prithvi. Shout out to my parents for letting me debate and being lovely parents in general. Cool. Just 20 seconds. Starting my speech, I'll just time myself as well. Starting my speech. Two. And what PM thinks that everyone sees Radhe as a loser. No, no, they don't. They're fucking jealous of him. He got to be born as a prodigy that they all didn't. His life is already inherently better when he was born, and that is literally because of his family legacy, and that is literally because of his grandfather at all points of time. He probably loves his life because he has financial security, he has legacy. His father is a big man. He probably has respect in the society, etc., etc. Which means he could have been born as anything else, but he was born as a prodigy. He has skills. He's probably seen as a winner by everyone's life at all points of time. They think after the grandfather dies away, it'll all be good. He'll probably have more regret after he dies because you didn't follow his father, you didn't follow your grandfather, despite your grandfather giving you all these skills, and the reason you're a prodigy, the reason you're enjoying this fame, the reason you're enjoying this respect is because of your grandfather. They say that love to parents is unproven. You probably resent your community. I would say you got all of the skills only because of his father. You could have been born anything else. You probably respect for your father, your grandfather, for the talent he has given you at all points of time. Anshuman talks as if he has already talked to Radha and he knows what he wants. He was probably afraid. There is literally no myth to prove this. I will tell you what the actual situation can be. I think that humans always make short-term decisions which are bad. At a point in time, I like football, even if I have an exam tomorrow, I might go ahead and play football. It's not because I don't care about my exam. Radhe cares about his grandfather. It's just that at that short point in time, he probably fell in love with Tamanna because I don't know, humans can just fall in love. He probably made a bad decision despite him respecting his father, and this can happen for humans at all points of time. You can love and respect someone so much, still you can make bad decisions at the heat of the moment. We think that this is the heat of the moment bad decision he made, and this is not like Anshuman claims. He probably fell for Tamanna's beauty, he probably the conversations that they had, etc., etc. But this also, the fact that he was doing it anonymously also proved that he knew what he was doing was bad. He knew that there will be backlash from his community. He knew that he probably has guilt for what he's doing. Still, he's going ahead and doing this. Still, he's going ahead and doing this anonymously, which means the fact that he's doing it anonymously probably means that he regrets what he's doing. He just doesn't want his dad to know. He just fell at the heat of the moment at all points of time. Um, but quickly then, but their idea then is that, oh, everyone will expect him to be as good as a father. We don't think that's the case. But the examples that Anshuman Cherry takes is extremely bad. He says Arjun Tendulkar and Abhishek Bachchan, both of these are bad cricketers and bad actors. At all points of time, if your father is good, if you're a prodigy, you can have a success, you can be as good as your father. We think that that is likely comparative. But even if that's not the case, you fucking love your grandfather. Even if he's better than you, don't have a problem. I am my dad. He can proudly say that I'm my dad's son, and we both are good together, etc., etc. They just claim that he was probably beaten up. I would say he wasn't. Probably he was a dad was a peaceful person. What's the make to prove that he was beaten up? What do we then prove to you? We prove to you the long term impacts of this. This is an opportunity that you had. This opportunity, even the opportunity to like I don't know, fall in love with Tamanna only came because of your legacy. So I don't think Tamanna should be prioritized instead of this. But the backlash, but you can't stay true to your art because there will be backlash from the community. But also we'll also just note that in order to stay relevant in the commercial market, you will have to make big changes within your music. These big changes can later be utilized in different ways by movie directors, which means I don't know, you can fucking have an item music, item dance for like this music, and you'll be extremely hurt because your legacy is being taken away. Classical music is so pure, but this can be interpreted and taken by at a point when you commercialize this, you will feel this guilt because you are the reason this is being spoiled by different movie directors due to the changing trends, etc. We think this is the classical music is stable. This shouldn't be allowed to commercialize because we don't want movie directors to do whatever they want with this. But at a point when this relationship fails and Anshuman concedes to this can fail. We think the amount of regret that you're going to have and the amount of hate that you're going to have towards Tamanna is extremely big because you did all of this just for Tamanna, and at a point in time she breaks up with you because of number of reasons. They probably just fell in love. They probably haven't tested compatibility as of yet. They probably just wanted over music. There are 100 other reasons you can fight over and break up. At a point when you do break up, the amount of guilt and hate that you're going to have Tamanna is extremely beyond the rest of the house. I would just note that the commercial path to success is extremely unlikely for three reasons. A, this can be extremely competitive. There can be other players. So if I'm listening to Spotify, most people on Spotify and YouTube listen to I don't know hard music, romantic songs, etc. What is the incentive that me as an average music listener has to go ahead and opt into classical music? We think classical music has a very niche audience at all points of time, and this is probably religious audience, but also audience because this is deeply traditional to Indian context, but also probably I don't know Hinduism culture, etc. We think this audience is extremely niche. We don't think you can expand this audience at all points of time. But at a point when you expand this, and at a point in time these movie directors spoil this art, we think that this niche audience will also go ahead and hate you and they won't listen to your music. You will be fucked on commercial space as well, which means you can't attain success. They had to prove the likelihood of success. But I would just posit that an average music listener won't choose classical music, won't switch to classical music at any point in time. But there are also changing trends within the industry that you'll have to adapt. You'll have to probably sign contracts that are stressful for you at all points of time and fuck your life. Before I go ahead, POI, quick.
The fact that you say Abhishek Bachchan is such a bad actor, even after multiple awards and good performance, shows what kind of bias
Cool,
Radhe
cool,
would
cool.
face in this industry.
Cool. I personally think Abhishek Bachchan is bad, but debate on sure. Send you a whip for that. But I would just note that success is more probable on our side because you're a prodigy in this classical music. You probably spend lots of time throughout your childhood to learn this. Now you have to so which means success of like catering to this niche audience is extremely high outside the house. But also you have a legacy. Alia Bhatt's small child is loved just because she's Alia Bhatt's daughter. That's the kind of history that people have for celebrities betas on our side of the house. That is the love that you will enjoy on our side of the house. But also you probably have Padma Awards, international orders. You can sing at these festivals. You when you have mastered a field, you can probably sing on a global level, etc. We don't think money is an issue on our side of the house because you're prodigy in this. You can cater to this niche audience. We don't think you'll go hungry on our side of the house. I want to base this on two levels. We think when at a point in you're best in this field, the catharsis that you get that have mastered this field is extremely high on our side of the house. On their side, there is no peace in their life. You're constantly reminded by your grandfather's like the way your grandfather taught you this, and you're betraying your grandfather. You literally feel cognitive dissonance all through your life. But I would just posit that the burden that they then have is to prove we also have money on our side, we also have legacy on our side. The burden that they have to prove is why we need more money on their side at the expense of all the harms that we push all through our speeches. For all these reasons, super proud to win Ikhtilaf PD. Thank you so much, man.
I thank the DLO for that fine speech. Government whip whenever you're ready.
Yeah, am I easily audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so give me a second. Okay, I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. You must understand the most important argument in this debate is choice. This is a person who was born into a family where he had no choice whatsoever apart from opting into classical music. He had no agency whatsoever not to decide what songs he was singing. Not even in choosing if he wanted to be a doctor, actor, or for classical music. On our side, for the first time, he actually makes a choice. On our side, you're able to make that choice for the first time. I have a few responses. One, he rather chooses to opt into commercial music with an anonymous identity. Till now, he was not in love with Tamanna. He violated all the rules made by his grandfather to go under false pretenses and collaborate with a pop singer to make pop music. He was clearly aware of the fact that his grandfather would hate him. He was not in love yet, given that the info site says that he fell in love only during the campaign, which means he was willing to give everything up in his life just to perform once on a bigger stage and get the recognition he always wanted. Second, opposition argues that you're not successful. This is so wrong. Given that the info slide says that you've done a couple of songs with rising pop stars already, this means that you have done a couple of famous songs and probably do have your anonymous social media accounts where you already have lots of following. This means with 100k followers on Instagram, you already get brand deals and ad money. I think this is simply much more than the pennies you get via classical music. Remember, you only need one good song in life that goes viral to have 5 million listeners and a lot of money. On their side, you need only one bad performance for people to say that you're not as good as your grandfather, etc., etc., etc. Then opposition comes up and argues that hey, Radhe loved his life, or Radhe in fact loves his life. If that was true, Radhe would not risk everything he has to perform commercial music anonymously. You see how DLO virtue signals to Radhe that he got everything he has because of his family and he should be grateful. Nobody would ever understand that he had to work 15 hours a day to be this good. Nobody would ever understand that he was punished every time he missed a bit, and how he had to give up everything he wanted to pursue this skill. Nobody ever would recognize his work because everyone would think that he got served with a great legacy and he could not live up to it even after being given everything by a family. When DLO says that, hey, Abhishek Bachchan is a bad actor, you can clearly see what kind of bias we have for people born in an artist family. Abhishek Bachchan got worldwide recognition for his movie Guru. Even now, even now does incredible acting in multiple movies. However, DLO says he's a bad actor. Just simply, if he got this success without his father, it would be seen as a success. Clearly, this is the social attitude he has to face on a daily basis. Now, opposition says that directors would use your music very badly. That's not true. In recent times, law and platforms give you full rights to deny use of your music. Yes, in 1990s, musicians had no rights. However, now they can simply publish their music on YouTube. They can simply publish their music on Spotify or any other music channel and retain full ownership because of these laws that have come up recently. Now, we have maintained from the start that the motion does not require Radhe to sing item song the side opposition is continuing to rant about. The motion only says that he takes a commercial path to his music. This simply means he would still continue singing classical music. He would still continue singing classical music as a whole, but simply he would accept modern trend, lyrics, instruments, and more importantly, modern platform, which is the whole debate, which is the debate about. I am sure you can easily find 100k followers who love classical music already. Now, let's tackle the likelihood of success on outside the house. A. In commercial music, you're appreciated, and by appreciated, I mean you're appreciated simply because you do well. Remember, you do not have to be the best. You simply need to put your music on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and even if a niche group of people follow you, you would do well and make a lot of money. You do not even need to have a full good music video. The Sajan Bin song has gone crazily popular on Instagram right now. Absolutely nobody knows the full lyrics. The song just got very famous because of two lines of amazing music that is being used as background music for almost all the videos on any other social media platform. Now, you're a prodigy in classical music, which means you do very well. You simply need to adopt the commercial means, and actually put yourself out, and at least 1 lakh people who love classical music will surely follow you. I'll take the example of this new artist, new sitar is called Rishabh Rikhi Sharma. At this point of time, he's having concerts all over NYC, etc. If he had to retain to what his idol would say, and practice classical music without commercializing it in the form of concerts, how would classical music actually be concert by the form of sitar? At that point of time, he performed modern songs in sitar, and at that point of time, he became famous. And this is how commercialization actually works. You simply need to adopt the commercial means. You need to put yourself out, and at least 1 lakh people who love classical music would follow you regardless of whether they're niche or not. These days, old people are also on Instagram and social media. I am sure you all get follow requests from your uncles and aunties, etc. I'm sure they would follow him and he would make money. Have you all seen how the old babas are so popular on Instagram? All these god men are only followed by old people. All these gurus, Sadguru, everyone, they're only followed by old people. Simply, there are way too many old people on Instagram. At the point at which side opposition argues that hey, Radhe, there's relationship of Tamanna, etc. We don't understand how this is even important in the debate. The debate is about whether Radhe should betray his grandfather and go into commercialization, or he should retain classical music. At this point of time, we don't understand what side opposition is trying to push over here. But then what do we tell you? We tell you how many incentives the artist has to go into the commercial music. We analyzed Radhe for you. We analyzed the info side for you in our speeches throughout. Then we told you how commercialization actually makes more money, and how Radhe has been conditioned in a way that he's never had a good car, a good house, and he always wants that when he sees legends actually commercialize their music and get this stuff. At this point of time, Radhe doesn't know. At this point of time, Radhe knows what he wants, but he's not able to get it because of the strict rules his grandfather has imposed on him. That side opposition comes and talks about the heat of the moment. I don't know how this is inherently true. At the point where he takes commercialization as a path, this is not something that a person would rationally do in heat of the moment. This is what side opposition is something called, they're short circuiting at this point, because they're saying anything they want to do, anything they want to do, anything they prove. At that point of time, we tell you that hey, commercial music makes money, commercial music gives you more recognition, commercial music satisfies Radhe at the point at which he can get all the stuff he ever wanted from his childhood, from his learning from his legends, etc. And at that point of time, we should clearly take this bait. So proud of bros.
I thank the speaker for that fine speech. Opposition whip whenever you're ready.
All right. Before I start, quick shout outs. First of all, I think my parents are watching because they always wanted to see me debate, but they couldn't because it's in Delhi and they are in my hometown. I mean, in Qatar. So, yeah, first of all, a huge, I'm really grateful for them. And my dad is sick today and he has still been up the whole day praying for me because I don't usually get outruns that often. And quick shout out to Hansraj Depsok and everyone watching, my president, Varun Sandosh, Vineet, and Kushi. And more importantly, my flatmates, Ois, Prithvi, they also got into debating recently, and I think they're going to quit really fast because they hate it already. And yeah, quick shout outs to all my friends, Ruth, and everyone who's watching for me. All right. Starting my speech in, first of all, I'm audible, Ray.
You are, go ahead.
All right. Starting my speech in three, two, one. What I'm going to do first is disprove their entire case about how he's being forced, and he'll see things from college, and then he'll get motivated to do a lot of stuff. First of all, this is not like a father making a son go for engineering or going for and or making him go for medicine simply because his father was a legend himself. Which means if he sends his son to something that he's not interested in or he's not good at, and if he messes up really bad, it's going to affect his own legacy, which means he's taking a huge risk of messing up his own legacy, which someone who has already achieved a lot is not going to do. But more importantly, this is someone who believes the purity of an art. Why would someone like that force people into it? Because if he wanted to do that, he would simply commercialize it in the first place, so then more and more people come into this art. The fact that he doesn't want to commercialize itself proves that he doesn't want more people to be forced into it. But More importantly, again, he's a prodigy. How can he become so good at something unless you really want to do it? If he wanted to quit at when he's a child itself, he can just play shit music and then get kicked out by his father. But the fact that, or make his father stop him, the fact that he did so well and he's still doing well shows that he has immense interest, and more importantly, he wants to continue doing that. If you look at CR7, AR Rahman, and the people of multiple fields, they're not encouraging their children to get into the field simply because they know the pressure is too much and they cannot reach up to them. So the fact that he has already sent his son shows that he has so much trust and confidence in his talent and in his interest. But more importantly, second thing, he'll find newer interest in college and he'll want to do that. Parallel note, the timing is not mentioned in this debate. So that means from the very yeah, time is not mentioned, which means it can be in the status quo where there is already a huge, immense platform like social media where Western music is taking up a lot. Which means from a very young age itself, Radhe has seen Western music, which means he has already seen the opportunities as at Western music, the amount of fame Shakira, Kanye West, and all is getting, which means he has obviously asked his father or grandfather, who is a musician, about this field, and his father had talked to him a lot about this. Why do we in the motion slide clearly know that the father wanted the purity of this art? Simply because he somehow goes around and speaking to everyone, which means he had immense deep conversations with his grandson, who was a prodigy, about this too. And Parry, note, from a very young age, he was attached to it. And why do Muslim kids stay Muslims when they grow up and Hindu kids stay Hindu when they grow up? Simply because that is something that has been pushed upon them when they've grown itself, when they were growing up itself. Which means even when they grow, Radhe will still feel attached to this music. So at no point of time is he forced, and if he is forced, he had an easy way out. That is to play shit music and annoy his father and still not get kicked out. More importantly, at no point did they prove success of likelihood. Their mechanisms, to quote a few, get onto Spotify. Who are the biggest streamers on Spotify? Just name one classical singer, and I'm pretty sure they are going to win this debate. They are not. Second, 100K followers, and that is enough to become successful. You need millions of dollars to millions of views to get at least like $10,000. So how is he going to be successful in the first place? But more importantly, Spotify, YouTube, what kind of music is this large market having? It is simply diverse music, music that has changing trends every single day. A few things over here. First, this dude literally just learned one art form throughout his life. Even if he gets into this industry, how is he going to be successful when he doesn't know how to play this lighter, easier instruments to learn these new verses and everything? All he knows is a set of few instruments and a set of songs. He cannot diversify because throughout his life that is what he's doing. But if you look at artists who are famous in today's status quo like A.R. Rahman or Anirudh Chandran, all of them had immense training in different fields from the moment they were growing up. That is what led to their success. And this analogy is not in just music. If you look at sports also, a lot of great successful footballers and cricketers played different sports as they were growing up, and that diversification is important to succeed in any field. But more importantly, commercialization is like one of the most competitive fields. And what point did they prove this guy is going to reach a position where he can get a good car, good everything? And they're meant to prove all of this is very interesting. He did it anonymously, and now he's going to get brands and all. If he was anonymous after releasing a song, no peer right now, that means two things. One, he had a very small role that people was not curious about him. Second, he plays shitty music in the first place so that people don't want to engage with his anonymity. And moving forward, about emotional recognition and everything, media recognition, emotional recognition, everything. First of all, dealing with media recognition. Yeah, before that, one more thing. Western music is constantly changing. That is why Western music has a huge market, can always adopt a newer and newer genre. Classical music is not that. So even if he wanted to do that, he simply cannot do that because that is not how classical music works. But we also told you how he's not trained for that. And yeah, media recognition. Okay, now no pure right now. He reaches the level of his father, but he did something that his father and grandfather did not want to do, who are also famous. So obviously, media is going to go to them, talk to them, and they want to say, "No, I hate my son for doing this. I have no association with him," which is also going to bring him under media pressure and everything, which is also problematic. But nepo kids can do the bare minimum, just like Abhishek Bachchan. Abhishek Bachchan did the bare minimum. Sorry, yeah, Abhishek Bachchan, and already got the accolades that Amitabh Bachchan got. So doing the bare minimum itself is enough to get fans and everything. But more importantly, this is a niche field. What popularity are you going to talk about? But likelihood of our success. Okay, I'll take that POI.
When he went to his grandfather, he said, either listen to me or get out of the community. Doesn't that sound toxic to you?
That's not toxic because if he's playing shitty music in the first place and he can just play shitty music and his father will be like, okay, don't engage in this and don't mess up my legacy. But more importantly, likelihood of success. Parallel note, India is a country that has done a lot of investments into awards for musicians, into organization like Sangeet Kerala Association, a lot of association that give jobs to musicians like this to host a lot of events and everything. So it is very easy for him to get a livelihood in the current status quo without getting commercializing himself. He can be a teacher in these organizations, he can be the head of these organizations because he's a prodigy. So success in that niche field is assured because he's a prodigy. More importantly, Pan, he'll get money for survival and everything. But what kind of recognition is important? Anshuman is good at debating. But yes, he has a catharsis that he is good at debating because he's in the debating community. Let him go to the music industry, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna kick him out. So it is important to have the recognition in your niche field, which you have once you get into. So as long as people in the niche field is loving you, not giving you backlash for disrespecting a huge legacy like your grandfather, as long as you're getting catharsis from them, you are happy because everyone around you loves you. Anshuman is happy today because me, Angad, Sairam, and all love him. But I'm pretty sure he doesn't care about what Shakira, Kanye West, and all things. But more importantly, I proved in the beginning, you as a child was attached to this music. That is why you are a prodigy. That is what you heard as a child, and whatever a child learns when he's a kid is proximate to him, is always there in his head. Which means every time, even if I take the best case, he can switch music every time, adapt to it. Even if that is all true, each time he's changing the music, he is getting internal trauma, which is even harder for him once his father dies, because each time he changes, he knows his grandfather is not there to see his success, and he's just betrayed him. With that, I conclude. Thank you so much.
I thank the opposition whip for that fine speech. I now invite opposition reply.
Hello, just confirming again if I'm audible. Sorry. Just confirming again if I'm audible.
You are. Go ahead.
20 seconds. And go. Before Anshuman comes here and probably gaslights you, I'll tell you what actually happened in this debate and why we win. And I think it's a clear margin. I don't think it's even close. So I think before that, I think Sharik's rebuttal to their frame of how this is probably a toxic environment is important in this debate, because it's not like a random father pushing his son for JEE or NEET when he himself couldn't achieve it. This is something his father has already achieved. He knows the success in this field. He knows the fan base that he has in this field. He knows how this market operates. He knows how the niche audience is loyal towards you, etc., etc. Which means Sharik is true. It's not a toxic environment. His father probably loves him because his father knows that if he stays here, success is guaranteed for him. He probably wants the best for his son. That is why he doesn't want him to go to the commercial market, because there he can get fucked because of the multiple mix that we give you. Because he probably has to sign contracts, which is hectic for him. He might lose his mental peace. It might be extremely competitive for him to even stand on his own foot there. There could be changing trends. Even if he's successful for a short period of time, there could be changing trends which fuck him off at all points of time. But we think, but there are multiple other responses to this. On supply side, Sharik tells you how the Spotify market trend keeps changing, but also it is dominated by rap music and things like that. These are markets that is extremely hard for a classical musician to enter in the first place. But also, I tell you a deal, there is no engagement with this at GovWeb, where even the demand side of this is extremely problematic for Radhe, because the kind of music that people listen on Spotify, YouTube Music, Instagram Reel, you name it, is very Western, is very pop culture at all points of time. It is very hard for me to switch, even if I don't know, if I am inspired by Radhe's amazing story of him doing away with his dad, etc., etc. It's very hard for me to. I might listen to it for 2 days, but it's very hard for me to switch this Western music to cultural music, because that's the kind of music that we have been listening to all throughout. And I think this debate happens in status quo. But I would just note, Anshuman's frame is very off clash in this debate. I think the reason why all of this debate and all of this chaos happened is just because of Tamanna. Because notice, I think this man is a grown up man now, which means if this environment is so toxic, if his father is so toxic, if he was pushed by the community and his father and his mother to go ahead and pursue this music, even after him not liking it, I don't think he needed Tamanna's push to opt out of his family. He could have opted out nevertheless because he's a grown man. If he thinks he can be successful, I don't know, he can probably, he doesn't need Tamanna to make this decision. I think this decision was made solely because of Tamanna. There is no engagement for the meg that I give at DLO. I think, and we think, that humans make extremely bad decisions in a short period of time. At a point in time, you see a beautiful girl, or at a point in time, you see some proximate incentive that you love, you probably fall into that and you make those bad decisions. Do you think that is the reason he wanted to switch? We don't think the reason is that, oh, he didn't love his dad, that's why he switched up. I think the reason is when he saw Tamanna and when he noticed that there is some sort of camaraderie between them, that is when he decided to make the decision. At a point in time, Tamanna leaves him. His relationship will be extremely bad, but also he'll have immense regret for not listening to his father at all points of time. You think this cognitive dissonance and the internal tension that is caused as a result of not listening to his father is the only delta in this debate and the only certain thing in this debate. We don't think money is a part of this debate because we don't think this. Otherwise, they had to prove why Radhe needs a BMW and Benz in his life. We think the kind of life that he's living now is filled with hope and, like, I don't know, joy. We think that human life is more about how it feels than how it looks. It's not about the BMW. It's the respect and recognition that you get in society when you step out of your house. We think this is the most important thing for people. Just on this metric, we are able to establish why Radhe lives a good of life. They never prove why the more money that you get, which is again improbable because of the rebuttals that we have, is important on their side of the house. For all those reasons, super, super proud to win, man. Mad, mad.
And the speaker for that fine speech. I now invite government reply to conclude this debate.
I have a feeling I would screw up this speech. This is nice. Okay, I'll be starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My father grew up in a very distant village. He still works 2 jobs, lower middle class family. When I went to him and I told him that irrespective of an amazing job offer I got after studying in NLIU for 5 years and paying a very hefty fee, I just wanted to be a professional debater. And I said, I'm going to reject the job offer. I think we had a 3-minute discussion and he said, yes, you can do it. I don't know, but so our relationship was very distant, but I love him a lot for that. The simple fact is that the people we look up to, the people we love, are very important and their validation matters. At the point when Radhe goes to his grandfather and he says that I just want to try out commercial music once, or I just want to, I'm in love with this girl and I want to be with her. And the grandfather says, you either choose her or us, or you either follow me, or you go out of this community. I look at a household that's extremely toxic. I look at a household where Radhe, for his entire life, has done everything that the grandfather asks him to do. Because look at their attitude. Either you listen to us, or you end our relationship with our entire family and go out. This is something that I refer to in my DPM speech. These are not the kind of families where you are loved. These are the kind of families where you are beaten before you go to sleep. They make sure you practice 15 hours a day. Even if you don't want to, even if you're hungry, they make sure you do. Because they think that you must become as good as them. I know a lot of my friends who have been through this, who have been punished till the point they do 50 maths question. And even after getting a 1 crore job at a very big company, none of them are happy. The simple fact is that Radhe chose to sing anonymously much before he fell in love. Look at the info slide again. It very clearly says his world changed where he was offered an opportunity of collaboration by Tamanna. He took it. Over the period of this collaboration, they fell in love. He chose commercial music first, not because he loved commercial music, because for the first time, he had a choice. This matters because in families where you are abused and forced to take up professions and live a life that you never chose, that people decided for you, you are never going to be happy, regardless of whether you become Sangeet Samrat, you make 5,000 crores or whatever, because without that explicit choice, without that explicit control over your life, you would always feel helpless. I don't think for a classical musician of his scale, success matters much. I don't think you would ever feel successful Successful is a relative term. I pointed out to you, regardless of what he does, it would never be enough. Okay? Because his Dadaji was great, right? And people were like, he makes one mistake and they would be like, oh, you are ashamed. Or as the DLO pointed out, you got everything because of your family. It was served to you on a silver plate and you couldn't do anything. Regardless of how well he does, it would never be enough. We tell you that in commercial music space, he is on his own. These are choices that he would make on his own. I don't care if he's doing this because of love. The love was his own choice. In a debate where money is uncertain, where success is uncertain, I would prefer loving someone of my own choice and breaking up with them 15 days later rather than a grandfather who says, either you listen to me or you get out of my house. This is not a loving relationship. These are the people that you need to live as soon as possible. And if any of you live or are in love or are related to any such people, you need to get rid of them as soon as possible. I don't think this is a good relationship. And winning is irrelevant. I just think in debates like this, it's very important to send the right message. These are people that you must get rid of. And I think we all are always open to help. Very proud to propose.
Alright, that concludes what turned out to be one fine debate. I'd encourage speakers to virtually shake hands and cross floors. I request all panelists to reach out to me with their verdicts on personal chat. I will be available on the judge channel on room 1 on Discord.